Same bit right down the road at Foggy Bottom. It's now the established foreign policy of the United States to promote net freedom. Things like circumvention tools, ability for people to anonymize themselves, to participate in the online conversation. So the two-part question, and I'd say you probably both need to look at this. Net effect, is the net freedom policy of the State Department and the White House above it good for the world's people, 6 billion odd people, many of whom are not online and who want to be? And of those countries which have greater access to the internet, especially those which have circumvention technologies that are established, think about places like China where they can't get online unless they're stuck, versus countries that have open internet, which one of them have more open democratic processes? So foreign policy on one hand, and it's better to have more open internet elsewhere.
Pick a respondent.
These two guys. Sorry, I want to hear from both. And Mika first, then.
So I'm not sure I fully understand the question. I mean, are you asking, is this a good thing that this is Obama policy, or
that was the first question. Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't see it doing any harm. I mean, I think in principle, the idea of advancing internet freedom as a human right is an excellent thing. I wouldn't necessarily put it ahead of making sure that people have enough food to eat in the order of priorities. And the data.gov is a promise half fulfilled in that they are beginning to make massive amounts of government public data available online. We haven't quite gotten to the critical data, the most valuable, the most what you might call accountability data that would help us, we the people, really see what our government is doing with all our tax dollars and whether the money is being well spent. But this is some of the best stuff that the Obama administration is trying to implement because I think they do see it as a game changer. But, you know, by itself, Twitter is not going to give us a revolution in Iran, and I think that's a mistake that a lot of people have made. Dictatorial regimes still use force and intimidation to hold people down. Whether or not they have one more new way of sharing information, it may not make enough of a difference to give people the courage and the ability to challenge those regimes.
Let's leave quickly, Andrew, because I a whole bunch of people standing here.
Yeah, a couple of very quick remarks. Firstly, I think that America has enough problems with its own democracy, and that often from the rest of the world, American lecturing about other people's political systems is taken in the wrong way. And I think the other thing that's very important to bear in mind is there's often a hypocrisy when private for-profit companies like Google become the spokesman for American foreign policy and financially benefit from that. I think we have to be very careful about mixing up the self-interest of internet companies and moral issues about freedom and democracy.
Great. Thanks. Next.
Hi, my name is Fareed Ben-Amour. I work as a political organizer, and this question is for Andrew. So I think both sides can agree that expertise is absolutely necessary when it comes to any sort of information collection. And I thank Mika for bringing this up towards the end, that we also, I hope both sides can agree that we also need equal access and we need to bridge the digital divide so that everyone can access that information. My question is, how do you reconcile that with creating these gatekeepers of culture and information and monetizing it in a meritocratic way? It sounded like you were itching to get out at the economics of the gatekeeper role.
And as quickly as you can, just because I want to get more people in.
It's a good question. I think we're going to look back at the industrial age, which is closing. We're replacing it with the digital age. I think we're going to look back at it very quickly with a degree of nostalgia about its relative egalitarianism. I think it's simply untrue that the industrial age, particularly in terms of media, wasn't meritocratic. If you wanted to get a job at PBS, if you wanted to work for the New York Times, you had to get into good colleges, you had to improve yourself. No one is born, apart from the owner, Sulzberger, into a job at the New York Times. Again, it's a delusion, a very comfortable delusion that fits the anti-authoritarian culture of our age.
Please.
Hi, I'm Stuart Geiger. I'm at Georgetown University. And I'm wondering, as someone who's on the pro-internet side of things, it does kind of hurt me a bit to say that Andrew is right in the sense that blogs seem to be kind of have the same kind of model of authority as a lot of traditional journalism. And I'm wondering why, Jimmy, you think that in particular things like the Wikipedia model haven't exactly been as successful in replicating the journalistic acts. As they've been great for encyclopedias, but what comes next?
So I think that there's a very interesting thing going on. I mean, one of the things that I think is that we are going to move towards hybrid models for, say, newspapers and news organizations more broadly, where we recognize communities are very good at doing some things and not very good at doing some other things. And I always say, everybody tells jokes, but we still have professional comedians. And the fact that everybody can write on a blog does not mean that we have lost the need for serious journalists to go out and gather the news. And I haven't seen yet any mechanisms develop. There's hints here and there for really replacing basic hard news reporting.
Let's just get one question, a very quick answer.
If democracy is indeed threatened by the internet, should the internet in fact win? If that's the model of our next stage.
Who for whom?
I think these two are probably having at it. Let's go with Andrew first.
Let's get in the middle of the ring, and you can. All right, Andrew.
What do you mean?
You've admitted that the digital age is the age upon us, right? This is the age of the internet. If the democracy, Republican democracy or representative democracy is threatened, maybe we shouldn't have representative democracy anymore if we're in an internet age.
Yeah.
How much do you know about pure democracies? I mean, you seem very pleased with yourself. But it's a stupid question.
He's pleased with himself all the time.
I wish I had time to explain why I'm on the direct democracy side, but it's a question.
But give me an example of a pure democracy that works. I mean, why is that funny?
Again, because I'm asking the question of you.
No, you're not asking the question. You're making a statement. You're suggesting that direct democracy can work, and it doesn't. And it's a serious issue. Because if you look at direct democracies in history, you see a catastrophe.
The question I asked was, should representative democracy, if we're in the age of the internet, be abandoned if the model of our economy, the model of our culture, is the internet? If the answer is no, that's fine. I mean, that's a valid viewpoint.
Yeah, my answer is that it's time to reboot American democracy, and we need to look at the fact that we are using 18th century methods, like first past the post gets all the representation instead of a proportional system. I mean, the methods that we use are not in tune with the fact that we are a country of 300 million people. I mean, there are many, many things that we have not done. We have an amendment process to the Constitution that is terribly hard to use, but that's what we have to look at. We have to look at, are there better ways of involving a large number of people in a public conversation that's better than a raucous town hall meeting where people just shout at each other, which, by the way, wasn't done by the internet. That was done in an old-fashioned... I mean, we are in a moment where the internet is inspiring us, I think, to try and create new ways of doing things together. So I agree with the spirit of your question, but I will not let go of the notion of rule by the people. So if you're asking, should we get rid of democracy? I don't think the two are in contradiction.
But it's where I started with the idea that the founders were very well informed, very well educated about the flaws of direct democracy. So the new builders of the age need to read up on Rome and Greece, need to read up about 15th century Florence to understand the way in which direct democracy can be catastrophic.
So we should all go back and do Machiavelli now, and Thucydides and so forth. Meanwhile, the four most intelligent people on the planet and audience, I want to thank you all very much for this. This is great.